Okay, so welcome. And now let's do an example of dealing with vectors and unit vectors. So we have this vector and we want to find the unit vector that's in the same direction as this vector. So the first thing we need to do is find the magnitude of v. Okay, so again, how do we find the magnitude of v? Well, this is a position vector, so it's just going to be the square root of a squared plus b squared, where this is a and this is b. So it's going to be negative 5 squared plus 12 squared, which in this case is going to be the square root of 25 plus 144, which gives the square root of 169, which is 13. Okay, so the magnitude of v is 13. So now, what do we do with that? Well, to find the unit vector, we're going to take the vector v and divide it by the magnitude of v, which is going to be 13. So it's going to be v divided by 13. Okay, now what's v? Well, this is v divided by 13, which is equal to, again, 1 over 13 times v. You could look at it multiplied by 1 over 13, 1 over the magnitude, and we know that v is negative 5 comma 12. Now, what do we get? This is going to be what? Negative 5/13. And this is going to be 12/13. And so this is the unit vector. So this is the unit vector for v. Okay? And so this has a magnitude of 1. And you can prove it too, right? So you can prove that this has a magnitude of 1. Just find the magnitude of this one. Let's call this v, oh, I don't know. Let's call it v prime. Okay? So the magnitude of v prime is going to be the square root of what? Negative 5/13 squared plus 12/13 squared. Well, let's figure this out, right? So the magnitude should be 1. If it's a unit vector, the magnitude should be 1. So let's do it. So this will be 25 over 169 plus 144 over 169. And look what we get. We get the square root of 169 over 169, which is equal to 1. Because the square root of 1 is 1. And we're done. So this is a unit vector. We just proved that it works. Okay, now, how do I write this in ij form? Okay, well, and in fact, you can write any vector in this form. Remember, so again, just keep in mind, I is equal to the vector, what? These are the component unit vectors. I is equal to 1 comma 0, right? And j is equal to the vector 0 comma 1. So now, how do I write this unit vector in terms of the component vectors ij? So ij form. So this would be equal to what? Negative 5/13 times what? It's going to be times what? Well, this is the x, right? So this is going to be 1 comma 0. That's going to give me this piece. Then plus, right? Now I'm going to add vectors, right? And this is going to be 12/13 times what? 0 comma 1. So if I take these two vectors, right? If I take this vector here times this, and I take this vector here times this, and I add those vectors together, guess what? I'm going to get right back to what I started with. Well, guess what? This is I, and this is j. So my final answer, if I want to write it in ij form, is going to be negative 5/13 I plus 12/13 j. So there's the other way of writing it. So again, the unit vector is this, but I can also write it in ij form like that. That's it. Have a great day.